Thank you for tuning in to the Catch a Lift Fund's Coach's Corner podcast. We hope you enjoy today's episode and will consider supporting the Catch a Lift Fund and the veterans we serve. Visit our website for more information about our programs at catchaliftfund.org. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis or suicidal thoughts, please call 988 or the Veterans Crisis Line 988, followed immediately by the number 1. The views and opinions expressed during the Coach's Corner podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the Catch a Lift Fund. The Catch a Lift Fund does not verify or warrant the truth or accuracy of statements made during the podcast, and statements therein are not to be construed as an official policy or position of the Catch a Lift Fund. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein should be construed as health, medical, or other professional advice. The Coach's Corner is a place for veterans to connect, heal, and share their stories. I'm Melissa Luke, the host of the Coach's Corner podcast. I am a U.S. Army Iraq War veteran, coach, and program director for the Catch a Lift Fund. The Coach's Corner is sponsored by ID Technologies. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coach's Corner. Thanks for tuning in today. We are excited to talk with Cal coach and U.S. Army veteran Viv Kolb and U.S. Army veteran and Cal head coach Jeremiah Pauley. Viv and Jeremiah are joining us today to talk about an incredibly important topic that often isn't discussed enough in the fitness realm. Today, we'll be talking about body image and how it plays a huge role in how we see ourselves. Let's get right into it. Viv, Jeremiah, welcome.
Hey, Melissa.
How's it going?
Good. So good to see you both and have you both on. We've got a lot we want to get to, so we'll jump right into it. Viv, I want to start with you. Talk to us a little bit about what you would say about the standards that society sets for everyone when it comes to body image.
I think society really sets very almost impossible standards to meet, mainly because of how those standards are kind of influenced by society and just the way that people post like their best pictures, their best angles, putting their best foot forward, and then people don't really see normal bodies or normal poses where your body can be like when you're sitting scrunched down and you have some rolls, regardless of how fit you are, there is some bad angles. And I think society kind of puts a lot of pressure on everyone to have these perfect images of what they're supposed to be, and it's not very realistic.
No, it's not. And just like you said, it's so crazy. And you can see it sometimes on, you'll see kind of, they'll stack photos together showing that, right? And it's just what an angle does, what a lighting does. Lighting does so much.
Yes.
It's absolutely crazy. But we live in such a fast, instant world, right? So whether it's, scrolling on Instagram or flipping through a magazine, like it's all staged, Yeah.
Absolutely. And you don't know what the Photoshop world has become it has progressed to so much
sophisticated,
now,
right?
So sophisticated. Before we would see like that warping in the background, like, oh yeah, this is Photoshop. But now there are things that can be done without you noticing anything was done. The airbrush techniques and all of that. Same thing when we were teenagers and we would see the magazines and we thought that's how people looked all the time. And that's how these celebrities looked, and not understanding that a lot of that is tailored, for the market because they want the people to look perfect.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to get into all this a lot more. But Jeremiah, I do want to turn to you. And, we're so grateful that you'd come on today and have this discussion with us. Oftentimes when we discuss, body image, body distortion, we talk about it more, or, whether we mean to or not, we talk about it in the context of females, of women. But we know that that's not the case, that this also affects men. Can you touch on how this does affect men and just some of the unique challenges of being in a man in a world where when it is talked about, it often is talked about in regards to women?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's great to see you both. Yeah, so this is something that when I started talking about, oh, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I look, fellow, gentlemen would look at me and be like, okay, like,
Yeah.
what do you like? Why? Like, and it wasn't something that was really talked of. And then I started meeting like smaller and smaller members of this community of people that have not only experienced like trauma, but have also experienced like body image issues. So right now, to me, from my view, it seems like very few men are, willing, or even able, like, to just have a platform to get out and talk about it. Um, and I think one of the biggest fears is, the same with mental health. It's that fear of judgment of what are other
Yes.
people going to say
Right.
to me, right? Like, why would I have body image issues? You look relatively healthy, or you're out in the gym every day. Like, what's going on? Like, you move well.
Yeah.
Why would you have body image issues? And it's just so happens that it's really one of the most common disorders, mental disorders that men suffer from, and so few of us just have enough courage to speak up. And so I hope that this really is just a really great starting point for us to just help our brothers out there too. Like, hey, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
there's people that understand.
For sure. Yeah, thank you for touching on that, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, if you would talk a little bit, from a male's perspective on what are some of these outrageous expectations that you see society placing on men?
Sure. And so let's just, for sake of argument, say that we're we're at the bookstore, right? Or we're on, Amazon, and we want to read about fitness, because we've got this thought in our head that we're going to get in really great shape. And the first thing that pops up is always someone that's super lean, super tan, super fit, and it's like, I can't compete
Yeah.
with that. Like, why is that the person that they're choosing?
Right.
Is that the end result that I have to be? I don't want that end result,
Yeah.
right? As we see many times in the wellness program, it's that parent, that's saying, I just want to play with my kids without
For sure.
feeling
Yes.
like I need to take a 15-minute break. And so I think that's one. I think the other is, um, the before pictures, if you want to call it that, aren't something that are shown a lot, right? It's the body
Yeah.
transformation things that say, these are like, hey, I lost 30 pounds, but those are typically exceptions to the norm, right?
Right.
It's not always possible to do that because there are so many factors that go into that. Whether or not your body has suffered trauma,
Yeah.
how well you're metabolizing your food, your blood levels, and all these other things, these markers that just by looking at you, or just by adding more water, or trying to eat healthy,
Yeah.
that you couldn't tell otherwise.
Yeah, it's incredible, and there, like you said, there's so many variables to it, right? Like we
Sure.
could each sit here and we could each just off the top of our heads,
Yeah.
bullet down a very good size list. Um, Viv, something that, as a female, and, I'm a mother, I have a daughter, I know you have children too. On the female side, something that can be a very hot button issue, and especially visually, right, is that post baby body. And would you talk to us a little bit about this and just that pressure that is laid on women specifically, to get, that, get that pre-baby body back?
Yes, it's I like to call it like the snapback culture.
I
They're like
love it.
that's what they're always saying. They're like, "You're just gonna snap back into place," and it's so crazy because it doesn't make any sense. Like, your
Yeah,
body goes through so much during that 9 months, hormonally, physically, just in so many different ways. You're creating another human being inside of yourself, and even postpartum, you're still caring for that human being, either like you're breastfeeding or things like that. Those
right.
things also augment the way that your body looks. and everyone is expecting, okay, you have this child, and then you look exactly like you did when you were a teenager.
Right, right.
And it's not very realistic. There's so many things that play a role in that: genetics, just how your pregnancy went, the level of difficulty it was for you to even work out while you're pregnant. And it's kind of hard on a woman to have those expectations placed on her that as soon as she has her baby, she has to be back in this prime condition. Um, and it doesn't quite work that way. And same thing with stretch marks and things like that. As your skin is stretching to an unbelievable amount within a small amount of time. You're
Yeah.
9 months and your belly is ginormous.
Yeah, right.
And we expect there to be no marks or anything visual that represented that transformation that we went through. And it's definitely unrealistic, especially with all the different genetics. Not every woman is gonna get stretch marks, and some women are gonna get more than others.
Yeah.
But it's embracing the transformation. What the woman has done is more important than how she looks immediately after she gives birth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And touch on a little bit with that same line of thought, Viv, the stretch marks, the loose skin, the cellulite, because again, we just talked about this, how these photos that we're seeing, even of women, oh, you know, 8 weeks postpartum, and this is what she looks like, and you're not seeing any of that. What's actually happening there? What are they doing to these photos?
So definitely, like we were talking about earlier, certain lighting will definitely hide some of those marks, angles, photoshopping, and then um, we just have to admit that some women are genetically blessed, and that's just
Yeah,
what happens. They don't incur as much of the changes in their skin and their elasticity, but for the rest of everyone, it's very, very normal to have stretch marks and cellulite and things like that because of the changes that your body went through. But are so conditioned that we have to look perfect afterward that we won't post those pictures that
right.
embrace the stretch marks and embrace the cellulite and things like that. So when we do see a postpartum picture, sometimes it's something that's tailored or something that is not posted until like the baby's two or
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, and it's the level of pressure has a lot to do with why women feel like they can't show that side of themselves. And it's the same for men too. Like when men grow and they're developing a bunch of muscle, some of them get stretch marks as well. And then one person, like The Rock, like you can see his stretch marks from his
Right.
little girl, and he embraces it, which is an amazing thing. But he's also a celebrity, and we need
Yeah.
more of that exposure out there. Like this is what happens to normal men, and women when they grow at an
Yeah.
exceedingly fast rate.
Absolutely. And Jeremiah, if you would talk to that, talk on from a male's perspective like that, stretch marks, loose skin, because again, a lot of times, when we think of that stuff, we think about it with females, but all kinds of stuff is going on here with men too.
hmm and I wanted to add a point to what y'all are talking about because I got to bring up CrossFit, right? Like Annie Thoristoter, who is an elite CrossFit athlete, by performance alone, obviously,
Yeah.
like she's phenomenal. But also before her pregnancy, very lean, very muscular. And I remember I had saw she was speaking to someone shortly after she had given birth, but had come back to competing, and she was mentioning the fact that even back to her competing shape, people were attacking her and saying things like, well, now you've got this big belly, or whatever it is they were
Yeah.
saying to her. And her response was like, I had a child, and if you don't like the way I look, then don't watch me compete. Right. And I just thought, was like, that's really
Yeah.
great. Like, I'm glad she's standing up, for all women that you're experiencing that.
For sure.
Yeah, from the male's perspective, I think it's the same. I've never heard The Rock talk about those things. Maybe he has, right? And yeah, you can see them, but it's not something I think that most men, right, look at as a bad thing. If anything, I would think some of them look at it as like a badge that they won, right? That, oh, I got big and strong, and this is, the result of it, but at the same time, still feeling really, self-conscious about that, or not wearing sleeveless shirts, because
Yeah.
if it's going to happen, like, it's going to happen in the chest and the arm area,
Right.
probably first, right? And things like that. I also think, we when we start talking about it, it's like, nope, I don't have that problem. Nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's so common for us guys to just sit back and just say, nope, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yep.
okay. There's nothing wrong. And it breaks my heart every time I see someone, saying that, because that's for me, like, I've started picking up on it. Like, that's code for something's really happening.
Yeah.
And
Right.
how do we get to that person and get to that deeper issue?
Yeah, that's so very true because yeah, I mean, and you see it on both sides, right? But we're
Sure.
always fine, right? We're always fine. We
Always
don't have
fine.
that issue. Other people might, but we don't.
Yeah.
Um, so something, Viv, you and I in particular have talked about before, because again, we see it all the time in magazines, we see it on Instagram, women with a particular build, and having to do, either, with their legs or their butt. A lot of women, I think it's very common, they don't like their legs, Uh, Talk about that a little bit, if you would, and how genetics are playing a part in this, and how, really social media, societal standards are really setting an unrealistic expectation here.
Um, well, definitely a lot of how a woman is built, um, genetics is going to play a role in that. Um, I could say, like, just in my family in general, being of Latin descent, we're built a little bit differently. So we're structured to have a larger, like, lower half of of the body. And then even when I was doing one-on-one training, I would have women of all kinds of nationalities and backgrounds come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm here because I want to train to get a bigger butt, and if I don't get one, I'm gonna get a BBL." And I'm like, you're genetically they're structured to not have this BBL look to them, but they can have a beautiful frame, a strong frame, based on the genetics that they have. But they're looking at these women with these different genetics, or women who have
Yeah.
had these surgeries, and then
Right.
they're like, this is the body that I want, but it's not your body. This is either a fabricated body or a different genetic makeup. And so that was one of the things that were kind of rough. I would have to explain to them, like, you don't want to do the surgery, you
Yeah.
want to embrace your body and what you have and make that as beautiful as you want it. Make
Yeah.
your get to your goals, but in the way that's natural and healthy for you. Um, so I think it's scary because these surgeries can lead to so many other issues as well. We have women getting botched surgeries, losing so much tissue, and then they never have this. They don't get their goal body, and then they don't even have
Mhm.
a normal body. Their body's disfigured now, and then that just raises a whole bunch of other dysmorphia, or mental
Yeah.
issues surrounding their body. And it's it's hard, and
Yeah.
and it's something that I think all of us kind of deal with. We always look at ourselves and find those flaws
Yeah.
in our bodies and the things that we want to change, and it's 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 hard, but you have to learn how to redirect your mind to how do I make what I have, this machine that I have,
Right.
a better machine versus like trying to buy some parts that probably
Yeah.
won't work for this model.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And it really is kind of like it's turned into a fast fix culture, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Jeremiah, talk about this some because again, it's certainly not just with women, over the past, and I'm going to say the past 5 to 8 years, I feel like it's really ramped up, or that's when I really started paying more attention to it. Like once I got, heavier into the fitness realm. But, even for men, you would see men getting, injections. They would be getting implants in their abs. They'd be getting calf implants, like synthol injections. Um, so you have this wide range of stuff that people are doing to their bodies, anywhere from plastic surgeries, injections, hormones, different kinds of medications. Um, Talk on that and what you've seen.
Hmm. Sure. I've seen people um, it, say, "Hey, I want to get in shape, but I don't want to look like XYZ."
Right.
It's like that's great. Like I don't want you to look like XYZ. I want you to look like you.
Yeah.
I want you to be the healthiest version of you, whatever that is. If it means that we're going to overhead squat 150 pounds, great, right? If it means that we're going to eat two really healthy meals every day, great, let's get there. But again, I think it comes back to the type of culture and the gym, right? That many people find themselves in. You go to some gyms and it just looks like everybody there should be on the cover of a
Yeah.
magazine. And those seem to be like the types of gyms and fitness centers that get so much airtime on social
Right.
media
Right.
or at the gym or pardon me on the news or whatever. It's like I can't compete with that. Like I
Yeah.
can't. How can I go in and work out among those people if I'm already struggling to just understand what is happening, or why I'm feeling the way I'm
Right.
feeling? So I think we have to do a better job of just being open and accepting everywhere we are. I love just telling people, "Hey, you look great today. You're moving well
Yeah.
today."
Right.
And sometimes, I understand that, "Hey, you look great today" can come off
Yeah.
as a little like, "Hey, I'm hitting on you, but I'm not really." Like, I just think,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm just glad you're here and you look great today." Like, and I think we have to be we have to have more conversations like that, right? And we always talk about this that we have to be more accepting of other people's viewpoints and what they
Right.
believe. All right, great. Shouldn't we also be more accepting of their body type too,
Yeah.
and what their body is capable of doing, and instead of focusing on what it cannot do?
Yeah.
um, let's focus on what you can do. And if we can do some things, then I'm going to be clapping for you the entire time. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want. Like, I want you to focus on what you can do right now. I'll worry about what you can't do later, because if we focus on what we can do, I'm going to get to that can't do thing.
Absolutely. And I know that was in my own personal life and fitness journey. That was something that uh, it really helped me change how I saw myself, how I perceived myself when I started strength training and really celebrating that, like what I could do in the gym as opposed to working out with an end goal of like what I wanted my body to look like, right? So it became more of, celebrating these different victories in the gym and what I was capable of, right? Not trying to
Hmm.
strip my body down in that way. Uh, Viv, talk to us a little bit about how, yeah, there are these fast fixes that you could do out there, and, you might get lucky and it does work, but you also might get very unlucky, like you said, and it doesn't work. It's a botch job. It's not the right parts, for this engine. Um, Talk about though a little bit, if you would, how even if you do that, even if it is successful, that's still not the root of what kind of the problem was at the start and the way you were viewing yourself, how you see yourself.
So basically, like there's this one lady that I love to follow. Her name is Emily Aviles, and she went through a big weight transformation. She lost so much weight, and she kept saying how when she was overweight, she hated her body. She's like, I hate the way my body looks like this.
Mhm.
I'm overweight. I'm overweight. And then she loses all the weight and she says she's still finding all the flaws in her body. She says, so basically, no matter like what you do or where you get to, if your mentality is set to look for what is wrong with your body and
Right.
what you need to fix, it's always going to be like that, no matter what. Um, and I love that she put that out there and said, now it's time for me just to embrace where I'm at and just kind of love my body the way it is. Like just take up space and be
Yeah.
here. Um, and we see this all the time, even with the women that do these surgeries, and then we're like, man, they look amazing,
Yeah.
right? But then years down the road, and there was one woman in particular I'm thinking about, I can't remember her name, but years down the road, she decided she wanted to get these implants removed.
Yeah.
And you're like, but why? You look great. And
Yeah.
then and that's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like it's all in your head. It's something that you have to work with and try to embrace and love yourself. Um, so in the end, it doesn't matter what you do to yourself. You have to be there mentally to appreciate yourself and really love who you are.
Absolutely.
It's pretty, yeah.
I want to ask this next question to both of you. If you would both speak, for yourself as individuals, how do you both cope with, times where, you're either struggling from some type of body image stuff or body distortion or just, again, just these garbage standards that society is kind of laying on you. Jeremiah, what do you do to cope with it?
Oh, that's hard.
Put you on the spot with it.
Right? Because for me, right, I used to, look in the mirror and I would be like, God, the bags under my eyes are terrible.
Yeah.
Right? They just, what am I going to do? So I bought eye creams and patches and did all the things, right? Like, didn't even talk to myself about the genetics, didn't talk about, the amount of alcohol that I was always drinking, at that time. But I heard this really great thing from Mel Robbins just a few days ago. Mel Robbins is great public speaker. She's a mental health advocate and talks often about positive self-talk and how to go about doing it. And the clip that I had watched, she had said she was speaking with someone, and this female, she asked her, she was like, "But how do I stop the negative things that I'm saying to myself?"
Yeah.
And Mel said, "I want you to assign that voice in your head a name." And the lady got really quiet. She's like, "Give her a name." She was like, "Give her a name right now." And she just went, "Victoria." She was like, "Okay, say something that Victoria says that's negative." And as soon as she started to talk, Mel Robbins spoke up and said, "Stop it, Victoria." And the lady just laughed,
Yeah.
right? And she was like, "This is just one small technique that you can get to you, that you can use to get yourself to stop that negative self-talk." And I thought it was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to incorporate that. The other thing that I
like
really,
that.
it's brilliant.
I like
It's
that.
it's so simple. Not, and I don't mean that in any disrespect to Mel Robbins,
Yeah.
but it seems like such a simple technique.
Right.
But had I not seen that clip, I never would have thought about it. Right? It's brilliant. The other thing that I like to do is, and we've talked about this before, is the power of the sticky
Yep.
note. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Power of the sticky note. Right? Put something on that sticky note that you're going to read when you get up and go into the bathroom in the morning, that you're going to see it, and then give yourself a high five. If you're able to do that just once a day, I really think that's going to be a huge help. And then when you start with that, yeah, but nope, stop it, Victoria. Like that's like, right. Like that's it. Like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. We don't do that anymore. I think those are two little, very, very simple things. And to just applaud yourself, right? Don't expect anyone to applaud for you. Applaud yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Jeremiah. Viv, same question. What do you do personally, to cope or get through periods where, there's body image, negative self-talk or any type of body distortion that you might be kind of experiencing?
So kind of similarly to what Jeremiah is saying, but I kind of take an outward example of someone else. So like a lot of the times I'll use my kids as an example. So I'll I can't look at my children and see flaws. Like I can't look at them and be like, why is your arm too skinny or whatever the things
Right.
that we say to ourselves. I can't look at them that way. And then I'm like, well, shoot, they're like a representation of me and how I look,
Like that.
they're a little
Yeah.
mix of me and their dad. And I'm like, how can I look at myself so unkindly when I can't see a flaw in these children? They're beautiful to me. I'm like, and I made them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways. Just thinking like I have these three beautiful boys that look like me. So how can I keep talking crap to myself?
Yeah.
And then another thing, kind of like what we were talking about with Kaylee, is talking to yourself like you're your friend, and instead of your enemy. Like you can't. Whenever we look at our friends, like we never go up to any of our friends and be like, "Dang, girl, your legs are so skinny." Like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's not the way we talk to each other.
Yeah.
We're always like, "Oh man, you're always giving your friend props on everything, and you can always find something beautiful in your friends, no matter what. There's always something." And I think that's kind of the mentality that we need to change to. Like, okay, maybe I'm mad because I ate a lot of pizza last night and my gut's coming out. So what looks good on me right now? If I was my friend, what would I say? I'm like, okay. I mean, I got a nice smile. My teeth are clean. My breath smells good.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of embrace those positive things about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I've a little bit of a combination there with myself because, same thing. I have a young daughter, and I've always, ever since I've had her, I've turned it back around myself, where, well, what would you say to your daughter in this situation? And even now, like just if something happens or I start feeling a way, like if I put that in my head, like it ends it right now. And that's always been something that I've been, not saying I'm perfect with this, but I've always been very mindful since I've had her is, making sure that she never hears me, speak negatively or, looking at myself in a mirror and like, man, I look terrible today, or I don't look good in this, because I don't want her to have that association, and if she ever brings something up about herself, no, you are absolutely perfect. And, you're strong and powerful, this different stuff. But I think there's so much about that. I love that, Jeremiah. I love, give it a name. I love that, Viv. Like, what would you say to your best friend? What would, for myself, what would you say to your daughter? And yeah, that's good stuff, guys. Have either of you followed anyone on social media or just, anyone kind of more of in a public spotlight that you feel is, transparent about, either their struggles or just, they're not photoshopping everything and it's more real? Viv, have you found anybody?
Absolutely. So I have two babes. Ashley Horner. I love Ashley Horner.
Yeah.
She embraces her
Yep.
postpartum body. Like she embodies what it is to be strong, but also not to hide, what the body has been through. And absolutely love her. And she also comes clean about like however she's feeling, her emotions, as she's going through her preps and things like that. And another one is Emily Sky. So Emily Sky is another one that I love. Also, embracing her motherhood changes in her body, and she doesn't have like the stretch marks, but she has loose skin. So
Yeah.
that's something that she's like, hey, this is normal, and I think it just shows like how beautiful motherhood is and how we can embrace it and it still fits into that fitness culture.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Jeremiah, what about you? Have you found anybody?
Yes, there are a couple of different guys. One, I think his name is Jesse Wolf. I had found him about 2 years ago, and he was talking about him documenting his fitness journey. Heavy set guy, and every once in a while, he'll post himself at In and Out or whatever, and there will be people that attack him right on social media. He's
I'm
like,
sure.
"Hey, like this is my life. Like I'm not trying to be this image that everybody expects him to be, to lose 200 pounds, to be a cover model, with 5%, body fat." He's like, I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to be just a regular person that has a big voice and say, this is okay,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is okay. No, you should not eat this every day, 3 times a day.
Right.
But guess what? I'm still going to go get in my steps. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out and I'm going to enjoy my life. And I just think he really seeks to, send um, this positivity movement, in his life. The other one, I was looking for him earlier. I cannot remember his name, but he makes very funny satire videos about him being at CrossFit and him doing the ice barrel and playing pickleball. And he's a big, heavy set guy, and he's always doing it with his shirt off, right? And then one video I had watched, he was addressing, people in the comments. Why are you doing this? Like, ew, like, they were attacking him. Like, you look terrible. You shouldn't have your shirt off. And he's like,
Right.
what do you want me to do? Like, I've been made fun of my whole life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not telling me anything I haven't heard, or worse yet, like, you're not telling me anything I haven't said to myself. But right now, I'm trying to show people that even with this body type, you can get out and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
You can still go do all these great things that are considered healthy and be okay. Just be okay with who you are. And again, I just really admire his message. There's another guy that I like to follow. This is my final one I'll bring up. His name's Joey Swole. Now, he's big and huge and he's just a big gym bro, if you want to use that word. But he does this whole gym positivity movement, about filming in the gym and why so many people are afraid to go to the gym. And it's because a small percentage of people film their reps and sets, but they just don't stop there, right? They use it as the opportunity to, when they see someone doing something incorrectly, they attack them on social media,
for sure.
right? They see it and then they post it to their social, instead of going over and saying, hey, I noticed that you were doing this exercise incorrectly. May I offer you some help, right? And he calls those folks out. And again, like, wow, we need so much more of that, right?
Yeah.
Just so much more, like, help people in the gym, because for those of us that
That's
go
huge,
to the gym, right? For those of us that go to the gym quite often, we were that new person once, and didn't have any idea what the heck we were doing. And I'm sure all three of us on this call could just have a big list of people that we would be like, oh, it's this person, they all did these amazing things for me in the gym, right? And it's because of them. So those are my big three right there.
I like that a lot. And kind of following up on that, Jeremiah and Viv, what's something, and I mean, let's talk about it within our veteran community, right? If people want to do something kind of tangible and in real time to be transparent, to help others, on this journey of, empowerment through fitness, what do you think people can do? Viv, I'll start with you.
I think one of the best things that they can do is just, as you said, be transparent. Seeing like Jeremiah's talking about, that gentleman posting their journey and like from beginning to end, so you just don't see like this unnatural progression of here was me and here I am now.
Yeah.
And that way people see that there is real work, behind what they are doing. It's not, they took the route that was the best route for them, to reach their goals. And I think it's good for people to see that, and also um, an embracing of the flaws that society can have. So not don't Photoshop, as much
Yeah.
if you can help it. Like show like what's really there, what's really going on with your body. Seeing that strong, capable people come in many different forms, and this is not the only way that strong and capable person can look or should look. And I love like this. There's this picture circulating of Serena Williams. I don't know if you've seen it, but she's at the beach, and we all know Serena's a powerhouse and
Yep.
very very muscular woman too. But she also has cellulite, and
Hmm.
it's like, hey, like look at this woman, this champion here,
Yeah.
and this is how she looks. And I love that. And it's like, hey, we all come in different shapes and sizes.
I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. That's awesome. Jeremiah, what do you think we can do to combat this?
I love the idea of being transparent. If a person is ready to put themselves out there like
Mhm.
that. I also love the idea of progress pictures, if not for anyone else, just for yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of apps, that you could check out that where you could split the picture, and like look at one from 8 weeks ago and look at one from today to just give you a really good idea of how far you're progressing. Another thing that I really like is telling yourself 3 to 5 good things that you like about yourself and your body every single morning, right? That way, we're kind of starting the day, on some positivity. We're starting with some really good intentions, and if we can do that, I think we're really winning. But you got to get up and move every day, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody cares how much you can lift. Nobody cares how fast you can run. If only you're going to do is walk 10,000 steps today, cool. Go walk 10,001 tomorrow, right? Just keep those little improvements every day. And every time you make a little improvement, high five yourself in the mirror.
That's awesome. Thank you both. I have one last question that I'll ask to each of you. Speak to our new veterans that are starting the 8 week wellness program right now, and maybe this, they're not seasoned athletes. They haven't been working out,
Yeah.
and this really is going to be day one. Viv, what do you say to them?
I would say wherever you're at, that's where you're starting. That's what you need to embrace. So if you are like Jeremiah says, that veteran is going to be doing 10,000 steps a day, and that's your initial goal, then that's amazing. You get the consistency to do that, and then you build on top of that. Also, there's so many different variations of an athlete, and don't feel like if you aren't a certain variation, like if you know you still love running even after the military, and for some reason you still love it, embrace that and still be that awesome runner. Like you don't have to be something that you're not or not passionate about. Whatever it is that is going to keep you long term in a healthy state, so that you can be there for your kids, your grandkids, or your family, whoever it is, your significant other. That's really um, the main thing that we want, is we want our veterans to be around longer and just
Yes,
impact everyone else around the world.
absolutely. Jeremiah, what do you say to our veterans starting week one, day one?
Week one, day one. Listen to your coach. don't be don't be afraid to ask your coach questions. Submit your reports on time.
Perfect.
I said that. Now let's go with the other really cool stuff. If you commit to this 8-week program, if you give us consistency, you will gain strength, resilience, and a community that is going to support you for a lifetime. And you will be a completely different person from week 1, day 1 to the final day of week 8.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeremiah and Viv, for coming on and talking today. It's so much fun always to get to talk with you too.
Yeah, all right, my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to this week's episode of the Coach's Corner. Special thank you to our guests today, Coach Viv and Coach Jeremiah, for coming on and talking about this important topic. Thank you both so much. Don't forget to join us every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube for a chance to win Cal Swag and to chat with your brothers and sisters. If you liked today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and leave us a review on your favorite streaming service. Until next week, keep it real and stay Cal strong.